guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be going in and I'm gonna be telling you guys a little bit about my birth experience because yes, I did give birth and it's gonna be 4 weeks on the 7th of January. I am 4 weeks postpartum and that's a whole nother story. I'm gonna do a whole nother video on my postpartum experience. But yeah, if you're interested in hearing about my labor and my birth, then keep on watching. If you don't want to hear about vaginas, birth, pushing, blood, stuff like that, then I would suggest that you just exit out and don't watch this video because it might be a little bit graphic. Yeah. There is just so much that people do not tell you about pregnancy, about birth. First, I just want to say my birth was beautiful. Like 99.9% of my birth was beautiful. The most painful thing that I think I endured wasn't pushing, wasn't the contractions. I feel like getting the IV was probably the worst part. I would redo the contraction pain. I would redo getting my epidural. I would redo pushing another baby out of my vagina. I did not like the IV. Ugh. So yeah, I had a lovely birth experience. If I would have known that that is how my birth would have went, then I would have just not had any of the fear that I had throughout my whole pregnancy. I wouldn't have Googled all the stuff that I Googled about birth and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it went really great. So let's start off from the beginning. Let's start off with how this whole thing happened. So January 5th, I had a scheduled membrane sweep, and if you don't know what that is where your OB goes up inside your coochie and sweeps your membranes. Now I'm pretty sure membranes are the amniotic sac, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty much your OB is separating the amniotic sac from something. He's separating something inside there, and pretty much what this does is it starts labor. It produces some kind of hormone that starts labor. Now, when it comes to this, you know, I Googled it. Like, I was looking around. I was on my pregnancy app, Ovia, I think is what it's called. I was on there asking other moms, have you got a membrane sweep? Did it work for you? How did you feel? What was the pain? Because let me tell you guys, the membrane sweep and what everybody was telling me, it was uncomfortable, but it wasn't painful. So when I went into my OB's office and I was getting this membrane sweep, when he did it, I was like, oh my God. It was horrible from what I experienced. It was horrible. I would rather, once again, I would rather push out a baby from my vagina than get a membrane sweep. But to each their own. So I was asking everybody, did you get a membrane sweep? 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 I wanted everybody's opinion and I wanted to know everybody's experience. Now, apparently this happens very often. People get it done between like week 39 and 40 so that you're not going past your due date. But everybody and they mama was telling me it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. So I had this mentality of my membrane sweep is not going to work for me. I'm not going to go into labor. It's not going to work. I'm going to have to go in and I'm going to have to go back. Now, mind you, when I went into the office, and I went so early, I went at like 9 or 10 o'clock. No, I went at 9:30 and my doctor was so late. It was like 40 minutes. Anyway, so yeah, I went super early to get this membrane sweep, but I went into this office thinking it's not going to work for me. And after it was all said and done, my OB actually wanted to schedule another appointment the following week to have another one done. He was late, so I sat in the room and I was waiting, I want to say like 25 minutes, because I was waiting in the waiting room for like 10-15 minutes. I was waiting. He comes in, gets me to lay down, blah, blah, blah. Now, when he checked my cervix a couple weeks prior, because he checked it first and then he had another doctor check it because he wasn't in. So And then he didn't check it 1 week. So yeah, so when he checked my cervix the first time when I was like 35, 36 weeks, I don't know if this man just didn't put lube on his fingers or what the case was, but that was, ugh. I was like, get your fingers out of me. Get your fingers out of me right now. I don't know why. I don't know what he did. It was just like, sir, we still tight down there. Like, you can't just be sticking fingers in super fast like that. Please. So when he was going in for this membrane sweep, I was a little bit worried. I'm like, he's going to be super rough. It's going to hurt. Like, I thought the painful thing was going to be him sticking his fingers into my vagina. No, this time he went super slow, super smooth. He put hella lube on his fingers. And I was like, wow, okay, this is not bad. Like, this is way better than the first one. Oh my God. This man, I don't know if I was just not expecting this, because I didn't know what the hell was going on, because my cervix was like 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters dilated, at least 1 centimeter dilated. This man shoved his fingers up. I like tightened, my whole body like tightened up, and oh my God, that was the worst. That was the worst like 5 seconds of my life. And then he relaxed, and then he went up again. That traumatized me. Never again will I ever get my membrane swept again. I sat up and I was shaking. Like this, he was talking to me, telling me, yeah, you're gonna come in again next week and we're gonna do this again because it doesn't usually work, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like in my mind, I wasn't even listening to him. Like he was talking to me, telling me all this important stuff, and I was just shaking on the bed like, fuck. At first he's like, do you need to lay back down? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, but what the hell? He leaves the room. Ugh. I put my clothes back on. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? This is horrible. Ugh. Like, I just did not want to do this again. I go to the front and I book again for the next, I think it was a Tuesday. I was 39 weeks and 2 days, I want to say. And then it was just cramping from then on. I just felt like I had been violated. My coochie was upset. I go home and I feel kind of crampy, but it's not like the cramps that they warn you about. It was more just like, I was just upset down there. My mom had sat with me because my mom was like, you could go into labor, you're gonna go into labor, you're gonna go into labor. Like she was just going crazy. And I was just in this mindset, it's not gonna work. Like you don't have to come home with me, you don't have to sit with me, we're not gonna go into labor. Relax, calm down, you know. My friend Courtney told me that it didn't work. And so after my friend Courtney, because she's been with me like my whole pregnancy, she's been helping me, you know, we've had like this bond that we kind of struck up after so many years of, you know, not speaking. She told me it didn't work for her. So I was just like, okay, you know what? It didn't work for Courtney. It ain't gonna work for me. Like everybody was just telling me it's not gonna work. So when my mom was, you know, telling me, I'm gonna be with you, I'm gonna come to your house after just in case you go into labor. I was like, it's not gonna work. Like, calm down. And I wanna say around 7 p.m. on the 5th of January is when, oh, it's a month now. Oh, okay, because it's February 5th. I want to say, yeah, 7 p.m. January 5th, I started getting more, like the cramps started getting a little bit more painful, but it was just, wasn't too concerning. Like it was just like a period cramp and it would come and go, and they were really irregular. If the cramp started at like 7:05, the next one that I felt was like 7:50, and then I wouldn't feel another one for like an hour. And mind you, they weren't painful. It was just like a little mini cramp, like a period cramp. Nothing too crazy, nothing that was like, oh my God, get me to the hospital. It wasn't like that. It was just like a little bit of pain. And they were very irregular. So I'm like, I'm cramping, but is this because he just disrupted my whole vagina, or is this because, you know, I'm starting labor? So through the whole night, you know, irregular cramping didn't really strike me to think, okay. And then I go to sleep, and I want to say around 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning is when I started feeling these goddamn contractions. Now, I'm a first-time mom, so I didn't really have an idea. I was like, what are these contractions gonna feel like? How is it gonna be? I wasn't really sure what to look for and what to feel. So in the morning, oh my God, these contractions were they were getting worse. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm in labor. They woke me up out of my sleep, and usually, you know, I could just sit through them. But these ones that were hitting me January 6th, early in the morning, 9 in the morning, they were painful. I want to say like around a 4 out of 10. Like, it was to a point where I had to get up and and they were lasting like a minute. They were lasting 60 seconds, 50, 60 seconds. But then some of them would only last 30 seconds. So they were very irregular. Some were short, some were very long. And I just remember there was some where I had to get up out of bed and I would sway my hips and I would try to breathe through them. Like, that is how they were just getting more painful, but I could tolerate them. There was one moment where I could stay in bed, and I remember being on my back, and I had lifted like my knees so that my knees were bent, and I was in bed. And at one point I could lay down and it wasn't painful, but then another time I got another contraction and I tried to lay on my back, knees bent, and it didn't work. So I had to stand up, and I was exhausted mentally and physically, and having to get up 9 o'clock in the morning every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes. I was just like, fuck, I don't want to deal with this right now. I wasn't expecting this. But yeah, they were getting to the point where I couldn't lay down, I couldn't be still. I had to get up and I had to sway my hips, and you know, I had to walk around. Walking did help a little bit. Like, I remember walking to the bathroom and I was having a contraction, and the pain, it wasn't too bad, but I remember feeling it. And I remember getting a contraction while I was going pee. And it was just a weird sensation. They were lasting they were every like 10 minutes, irregular. Like, they started coming every 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, lasting about 30 seconds to 60 seconds. And what was it, for 1 hour? They were consistent, but it was like 10 to 15 minutes, 30 to 60 seconds. And the pain was increasing. So around 10 or 11 in the morning, I had texted my mom and I told her, okay, listen, you know, I'm getting these freaking contractions, I'm cramping, I think I'm in labor. Like, I think I'm going into labor. I think it's starting. The hospital had given me their number for the labor and delivery. So I called labor and delivery. I told them, okay, my contractions, I think this was around noon, 11:30 to noon. Called labor and delivery, told them my contractions, they're about 10 minutes apart. They're lasting about 50, 60 seconds now at this time. They were lasting 30 seconds, but at this point when I had called labor and delivery, they were lasting 50 to 60 seconds. They told me they have to be 5 minutes apart. So once your contractions start coming every 5 minutes, lasting a minute, make your way in. I kid you not. 30 minutes later, my mom's at my house, and they start coming every 5 minutes. I swear to God. It was just so weird because they were coming every 10 to 15, and then as soon as my mom was there, she started timing them. Oh my God. The pain got a little bit worse, maybe to like a 5 out of 10. Every 5 minutes, lasting for a minute. We get to the hospital around 2 p.m. My baby daddy wheels me up into the labor and delivery. I'm still getting contractions, and at this point, like, when I get a contraction, I need to stand up and I need to sway, I need to hold on to something, because the pain was it was increasing, okay? It was getting there. It was kicking my ass, but I was still holding my own. They put me in room, I think, number 3, and you know, we're going through this labor process. I want to say, is it active labor? I think I was in active labor. So, you know, we're going through it. Now, the doctor on call. This woman is amazing. My OB did not deliver my daughter, thank God. But this doctor that delivered was just amazing. Okay, I'm so happy that she delivered my baby. I have to go write a Google review on the hospital and on this doctor because I did not tear. Thank the Lord. I did not tear, and it was just amazing. My birth was amazing. So anyway, when I was in the hospital, my contractions were getting increasingly worse. So around like 5 or 6, I want to say, is when the pain went from a 5 to a 6. They had offered me morphine, right, to take the edge off because I didn't want to get an epidural. I wanted to go as long as I could without the epidural. And yes, I got an epidural. I wanted to go as long as I could. I wanted to have a natural birth. There was another woman in the labor and delivery screaming her head off, and when I heard her, I was just like, you know what, fuck this. Get me the epidural when it's time. When I need it, I'm getting it because I'm not going out like that woman. I had used the shower because the contractions were getting worse, and I was feeling it in my back. That back labor, let me tell y'all, that back labor was what broke me. I could deal with the contractions that were in the front. Those were okay. But the contractions in my back? No. No. I declined the morphine. I declined the epidural at the time around 6 o'clock. I hopped in the shower and I didn't want to moan. I had watched a lot of YouTube birth vlogs, and a lot of the girls were like moaning and just moaning. And some of the moans, I was like, that's not gonna be me. I'm not gonna be moaning all crazy. But my baby daddy did catch me on camera. I don't think I was moaning, but I was cussing. I was making some noise. I don't know what kind of noise I was making, I forget. But yeah, so I was in the shower. I had the water on my stomach, but that back labor, and I was losing my mucus plug. And I was losing my mucus plug for the couple days before. Yeah. And I want to say me and my boyfriend, we did have sex. I want to say I was still pregnant. And I had told him, you know, sperm does contain that hormone, or it does do something where the mucus plug comes out and it activates labor. So we did try that, and I did lose a little piece of my mucus plug, and I was losing my mucus plug up until my birth. In the shower, I lost a little bit of mucus plug. When they were checking my cervix, I was losing some mucus plug. So I was dropping mucus plug all over the damn place. It got to the point the shower was not working, the hot water was not working. I was getting pain in my back. It was just, yeah, it was a hot mess. And at that point, after I got out of the shower, I tried it, but I couldn't. The back labor was really killing me. And I want to say this was around 8 or 9. It might have been later, it might have been earlier, I'm not sure. But after I got out of that shower and I tried, the contractions in my back were just too much. I told the doctor when she came in, please get me this epidural. Well, no, I think I asked for the morphine, and she's like, it might be, what did she say? Because I said, I'll take the morphine and then I'll get the epidural. She's like, it might be a little bit too late. So I was like, okay, fine, get me the epidural. So they called the on-call anesthesiologist, I want to say is what they're called. And he was coming from home, and this back labor was just killing me. This back labor was killing me. And when the anesthesiologist came to do my epidural, I already knew how to sit, kind of. Like, I had watched so many vlogs on birth. Like, I was just like, okay, yeah, I have to sit like this. My back has to be like that. And I was getting a contraction while I was sitting, right? And I had moved, but he wasn't in my back yet. But I had moved and they were telling me, you know, you can't move, you have to sit like this. And I'm like, can y'all hold the fuck up? Like, I'm going through a contraction right now. I'm not just moving around because I want to move around. I'm in some fucking pain. So I have a contraction while I'm trying to sit there, and then he proceeds to put whatever the hell they put in your back, and I'm a little bit ticklish on my waist. Like, the area where they put the epidural, I'm ticklish on the sides. So when he shoved whatever it is in my back, I kind of like jolted forward because it tickled. Like, I could feel it in my back. And he's like, you know, you can't move. Like, don't do that. Don't move. And my baby daddy tried to come around to watch. And they were like, you have to sit down. You know, you can't watch this because you're going to faint. But, yeah, so I was jolting forward. I was trying to hold myself, but I'm ticklish. It tickled. The catheter did not hurt, and I did like the catheter until I got home and had to endure this whole postpartum journey. And fuck that catheter, because that fucked up my bladder, and I'm still going through the pain. Well, it's not even pain, but I'm still going through it. I still have this weird sensation where my urethra is because of that goddamn catheter. But anyway, yeah, so they put the catheter in. And now at this point, my nurse, the one nurse that is attending me, she's going on break. So I get this wonderful other nurse that's kind of like, she ended up helping me push my baby, but I got this other nurse. Her name is Lisa. Now, Lisa had came in and, you know, Lisa's talking to me. She was a very funny woman. Like, I'm so happy that Lisa was there. And before I got my epidural, guys, I knew I had to take a shit. Okay, and guys, you're probably gonna shit when you're giving birth. If you push a baby out, you're probably gonna shit on the bed. Before I had the epidural, I wanted to go and take a shit because I knew I had to take a shit. But these damn contractions distracted me, and by the time the guy had came in and put the epidural in, I was like, oh my God. And then I couldn't walk. So from that point on until I was pushing, I was just joking with the nurses, like, I don't know what's gonna come out of me. I'm probably gonna take a shit. I needed to shit and I didn't shit. So now y'all are gonna see some shit come out of me. You know, like, don't look. And Lisa was just so amazing. You know, she was telling me, you know, don't worry, we see this every day. We try to cover that area up. We wipe it away. We're so used to it. So she just really tried to make me feel very comfortable in the situation, which I'm very thankful for. But yeah, I knew that I had to take a shit. And I was mad at myself that I forgot to get up and go to the bathroom. I just kept laboring and I kept feeling these contractions in my left thigh, which was weird. So I also had a button which I could press, which would give me some more of that epidural for the pain. And the back labor just kept getting worse. Like, I don't know why. I wasn't really feeling it, but you could feel the sensation. So for all you pregnant women that don't know if you want an epidural or you know you're getting the epidural, you don't really feel your contractions. You feel the sensation. Like, you can feel pressure, but it's not pain. But for me, I felt like I could feel something in my upper thigh, like in my butt. And I kept telling them, like, oh my God, I feel it in my ass. Like, my ass kind of hurts. It feels heavy. Like, I feel like my ass is just, ooh, I got a BBL on my one ass cheek. We kept progressing into the labor. Lisa had said, you know, that there's something called counter pressure, I want to say is what it's called. And she said, basically, baby daddy is going to push on your lower back when you're getting these contractions. Lisa had told me it's the baby's head is sitting on your spine, I think, or the baby's head was either turned or the baby was somehow doing something inside, putting more pressure on my back. Lisa said counter pressure, it's gonna help the baby turn inside, and that is gonna help with this back labor. Me and baby daddy did it. He put so much pressure on my back. He didn't want to hurt me at first, and I'm like, yo, press on my motherfucking back right now. Press on it. Don't be afraid to hurt me. You know what I'm saying? Because these contractions this back labor is just something else. I ended up not feeling any of the back labor anymore. I was on my hands and knees. It was kind of like we were having sex again, to be honest. It kind of felt like doggy. But anyway, we did this for about, I want to say 30 minutes, counter pressure. He was pushing on my back every time I felt a contraction coming. And then we stopped. They checked my cervix. I think I was 8 centimeters after that. And after that, I didn't feel the sensation in my thigh either. So whatever he did on my back really helped. But going home, my lower back was just so painful. But fuck that, it helped in the birth process. So I want to say around 1 o'clock in the morning on January 7th, 10 centimeters dilated. It was me, my baby daddy, and I want to say, and Lisa, but I don't know if there was another nurse in there. I want to say it was just us 3. And Lisa was like, let's get to pushing. You want to push on your contractions. Lisa also said that you want to push if your body wants you to push. Everybody was telling me not to because that's how tearing happens. It worked for me. There was a couple moments where I did push when my body felt the urge to push. And another thing, I was feeling a lot of pressure on my booty hole when I was pushing. Like, my asshole was just, it felt like I had to take a shit. And I knew I was taking a shit. My baby daddy told me, you didn't smell it? I said no, because first of all, I'm pushing with my mask on. We were pushing. I did not feel a goddamn thing. Lisa said that I was pushing really well for a first-time mom. I was like, oh, damn, okay. I was very calm for some reason. I was very calm, pushing, no pain. They started seeing the head come out. Lisa's covering my asshole because I know that I'm shitting. I know that I'm taking a dump right there in front of everybody. My baby daddy did a good job at not saying anything and not being weird in the moment, which I'm very thankful for, because if he would have like started laughing or something, I would have been like, get the fuck out of the room. At one point, I did try to feel my baby's hair because my daughter does have a lot of hair for a newborn. I didn't really feel the hair, but I pretended like I felt it. But I did touch her head. We were waiting for my contractions to increase because I would get a contraction and it would go down, and then I would get another contraction and that would be the one that I would have to push on. So I had to let my contractions kind of build up. And when my baby was down low enough, they got my wonderful delivering doctor and she came in. I also wanted to kind of give birth on my side because I had done a lot of research, and I know that the sacrum, or like the back, your lower back, when you're laying on your back, it makes the pelvis smaller or something. I would recommend looking up different labor positions and birthing positions if you are a first-time mom, or even if you're a second-time, third-time mom and you're not really sure about this. Definitely look at other birthing positions that kind of help open up the pelvis, because that does help with tearing as well. With a opened pelvis, you know, everything can just fall out and come out and you're not straining. So I did want to give birth on my side, and one of my nurses, while I was laboring, I did ask her, I'm like, is it possible, because they had something on the wall, is it possible to labor and give birth in these other positions like this poster says? And she said, yeah, you can give birth on the birthing ball. It might be hard because you have your epidural, but you definitely can try to labor in these other positions. There were 6. So I wanted to give birth on my, kind of on my side, but I ended up just being on my back. And also, women, ladies, moms, I had seen this on Instagram on these mom pages, and massaging your perineum. I had tried to massage my own maybe a week before I gave birth, but this is a practice that some doctors do. Instead of getting you to push your baby, they will massage that perineum for you to kind of aid so that you don't tear. I'm very thankful and grateful that my doctor, as soon as my daughter was low enough, she didn't get me to push really. What she did was massage my perineum, I want to say for like a good 5-10 minutes. Like, I was laying there laughing with Lisa, laughing with all these doctors and nurses that were there with me. I was in no pain. I was just ready. I'm like, this is giving birth? Like, this is labor? This is labor? Okay. Because the worst part was getting the IV, which my veins were rolling. So instead of putting it in this hand, they had to put it in this hand. And that was just a mess. I'll tell you guys when I get to that part. But yeah, so basically I'm laying there after I had pushed my daughter out. The doctor was massaging my perineum from 3 to 9 p.m. for about 5-10 minutes, I want to say. There was a student doctor there. She was also massaging me. Very wonderful student. And my doctor was actually teaching her this technique of massaging the perineum, which is very good because I feel like a lot of doctors, they either don't know or they don't do this. And I feel like tearing, it can be avoided. That's just my opinion. It can be avoided in some situations. It's just, I feel like some doctors just don't take their time and they don't want to take their time. They just want you to push the fucking baby out so they can go home. And then she wanted me to kind of push for 2 seconds and then not. Like, it was kind of like push, but not an aggressive push. So I was kind of like softly pushing my baby out, and my baby just slid the fuck out of my vagina. She just slid on out. Ooh, like slid out. The part of my labor that was kind of scary would be the part where my daughter, so they got her out, put her on my chest, and I remember making eye contact with my daughter. Like, we looked into each other's eyes, but she didn't cry and she wasn't making any noise. And I remember they were shaking her up like they usually do. They were shaking at my daughter and she wasn't making any noise. And this part just goes by so fast for me, I don't even remember. So they took her, I think they might have like tried to take the fluid out of her mouth and out of her nose, but she still wasn't making, like, she wasn't crying. And I remember they called NICU because my daughter was born with a cleft palate. Not the lip, just the palate. And I remember, like, either her cry wasn't enough or something. Whatever test they do for newborns, she didn't pass it the first time. She got a 5 out of 10, I think, and then she got a 9 out of 10 the last 2 times. They ended up calling NICU. I don't even know why. I was just in shock. I'm like, why did they take my daughter? What the hell's going on? So NICU comes in, and then this doctor is asking me what medication I took during my pregnancy, he's just asking me questions. They had my daughter hooked up to oxygen. They're trying to get the fluid out of her lungs and everything, and I'm trying to watch. I was telling my baby daddy, can you grab pictures? Because, you know, she just came out, like, grab some pictures of her. He wasn't taking pictures because she was getting oxygen, and I'm like, I don't give a shit if she's getting oxygen, take some pictures. He was trying to tell me also about cleft palate, but I was just exhausted. I was tired. I was mentally not there. I was trying to pay attention. They ended up taking my daughter to NICU. My baby daddy went with them, and he had my cell phone. So I was just laying in the bed. I just had my baby taken from me. Yeah, it was a beautiful experience, but then at the same time, it was just kind of traumatizing. Then with the IV that went into this hand, I had to get it switched over to this hand because it started to swell and the vein, like, it was just getting all fucked up. Also, my water did break. I had my epidural. My water broke. I want to say it was before I had that counter pressure, and yeah. So my water did break, and they did say that there was some kind of bacteria in my amniotic sac. There was something wrong, so they had to send my placenta to get tested, and then I did have to go on antibiotics, and I did develop a fever during labor. I think when I was pushing, I did have a fever, so I had to be on antibiotics, so I couldn't even get the IV out. So Lisa had to switch the IV that was giving me some stress on this hand over to this hand, and it was wonderful. You know, it didn't hurt when Lisa put it in like it did over here, but it was just having a needle in here. It's not it, sis. Ladies, they will push on your stomach just to help with all the blood coming out and just to, you know, get everything moving and all that kind of stuff. Make sure that you're not over bleeding and bleeding too much. So yeah, Lisa was pushing down on my stomach, making sure all the blood was coming out, which was nasty as fuck. And it kind of hurt having all that, just having her push down on me. That was kind of painful too. Not as painful as the IV though. Then I was wheeled on down to NICU to be with my baby. That whole process took about an hour and a half. I remember my baby daddy had came back just to grab all our belongings and bring it down to NICU. And he did give me my cell phone and we were texting and he was like, when are you coming? When are you coming? But it was like an hour and a half. Lisa did have to put me on to antibiotics, I think, for that, whatever kind of infection that I had. I had some kind of infection. My fever did go away and I am okay right now, but yeah, that was the birth experience. I went down to NICU, held my baby for the first time, and then they moved me to the postpartum section, which labor and delivery was a breeze. That section, those nurses, those doctors, amazing. I got down to the postpartum recovery, and I don't know if it's because of COVID, but nurses were forgetting to bring me shit. It was just a mess. I did not like being in the recovery section. I was there for I think a day and a half or 2 days, and I just wanted to get the fuck up out of there. The food was nasty. The IV was just giving me pain. I had to walk around with this fucking stick full of water and shit. I was just over it. I was like, get this goddamn IV out of me. I kept asking every nurse, like, when can I get this out? When can I get this out? And I just had to finish my antibiotics, which I finished, and she came and took that out. Thank the Lord. I remember pushing my daughter out and I'm like, that's it? Like, I didn't tear, it wasn't painful. I was expecting to tear because first time mom, they say usually when you give birth to your first child, you're gonna tear. It's just natural. But no tearing, no pain, no nothing. It was just like everything that I expected to happen did not happen, if that makes sense. Wasn't expecting to get an epidural, I got an epidural. Wasn't expecting not to tear, I didn't tear. As a final like message to first time moms and to women that maybe want to have a baby but not right now, or you know, it's not the right time for you but you're thinking about it. Even though birth is scary, because it is scary, you know, I was scared, I was nervous. Everybody's birth is different, and like I mentioned in the intro or in the beginning of the video, there's a lot of information that we do not have when it comes to birth, and when it comes to pregnancy in general. There's a lot of things that people don't tell you. There's a lot of information, especially regarding birth, birthing positions, perineal massaging, stuff like that. Your doctors can do that. You can labor in any position that you want. You are not stuck with on your back. So I think there's a lot of information that we are not given when it comes to giving birth. And I think it's a good thing for everybody to educate themselves and to look into for themselves. So when your doctor, if they say, no, I can't do that for you, but they can, I think it's a good thing for you to know, so that maybe you can switch your OB or get somebody that will do what you want when it comes to your birth, because there's a lot of people that do have traumatic births that don't want to give birth again. And I'm just really happy that I was able to have an experience where I would give birth again. Like when I had my daughter, I was ready to give birth to another baby. Like I was ready to keep on pushing. Like the pushing, it wasn't painful and it was just chef's kiss. Like I was ready to keep pushing. All those scary stories that everybody goes through and that you seem to hear about consistently from every mom, it's not the same. And you will find people that actually have positive birth experiences that don't go through all those negative things that everyone else does. Just like getting my membrane swept. Everybody else said that it didn't work for them and it worked for me. So everybody else can have a negative birth experience where they tear, where it's horrible, it's painful, they scream their head off. I didn't scream, I didn't tear, etc., etc. So if you're afraid of getting pregnant or even giving birth, and that's maybe one of the things that's stopping you from taking that step, do not let other people's birth experiences scare you into not moving forward and getting pregnant or having the birth that you want. It even came down to the fact where I was like, maybe I should just get a C-section, because I don't know if I want to go through all of this shit when it comes to giving birth and labor. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I was thinking. And thank God that I didn't get a C-section, because it's been 4 weeks and I feel back to normal and everything's good. So Don't let other people's experiences kind of set expectations for what you're gonna go through and what you could go through, if that makes sense. Everybody's birth experience is different. Just because one woman has a negative experience doesn't mean that that is what you're gonna go through. You might not tear, you might tear. You might tear a little bit, you might tear all the way down to your asshole. That is pretty much my birth. Like, it was just amazing. Like, I expected my coochie to tear. I expected to be in more pain. And I'll let you guys know in the postpartum video when I film that, but yeah, I feel fine right now besides my urethra. Like, my coochie feels good. I am healed. I feel really great. I'm ready to get back into the gym, but I'm waiting for the 6 weeks. But yeah, that's my main message that I wanted to tell you guys. Don't let other people's birth experiences scare you, because you might not have that negative experience. I didn't have a negative experience, and like I said, I was ready to push out another goddamn baby. Too bad I didn't have twins, because I would have pushed that other one out. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please make sure that you subscribe, leave a thumbs up, and leave a comment. Tell me your birth experience. If you had a positive one, let me know down in the comments below. I hope that you guys like this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.